Well, it's a new day, and we have got just a heck of a mess in here. So I think before we dive into the next portion of this project, we're going to spend some time doing a little shop reconnaissance here. And I really don't think that the camera does it justice, but the amount of crap that flew out of the exhaust on this thing, I mean, it was just absolutely raining junk onto the ground on my head. And it crunches when you walk in here. We even have apparently frog carcass. Yeah, there was a lot of crap in there. And I think that our ceiling guard was about in the right spot, but we do have some slight shadowing where the tape was, so we might have gotten it a little bit, but it definitely helped. It was the right decision to do that, otherwise we would have a gigundous black spot on the ceiling right there. So hey, you know, a little preventative maintenance saves a lot of cleanup later. So for now, we're going to do some reconnaissance, and then we'll dive into what's next. You know, sometimes I feel like there's some kind of unsaid curse with having to fix things to accomplish anything, but apparently got a little aggressive with my push broom and snapped it right in half. So we made a quick repair with a chainsaw, a piece of pallet wood, and yeah, good as new. Should be good for another umpteen gazillion years of service. Anywho, okay, I guess we'll get back after the cleaning here. Well, after a quick reconnaissance, we got a little bit of stain in there from some oil drips, but there's the floor sweep, and aside from a little bit of debris from the wood stove, that is mostly stuff that shot out of the exhaust when she came back to life. So yeah, it was, I think if I recall in that last video, I was ducking as crap was falling as it was bouncing off the ceiling. So yeah, that's pretty impressive, just for perspective. Yeah, that's a decent pile. But much like the old cable shovel and other old engines that have been dormant a long time, I think the more we run it, the happier it's going to be. So we'll get this swept right out the door and move on to the next venture.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
We're going to take a quick minute and got the carb pulled off. Gonna pull it down to this to where this passage is and see if we can figure something out with this, because it's just driving me nuts. So let's get the bowl ripped off this and see what we can find. All right, guys, well, I'm pretty confident we've got this figured out at this point, so I'm gonna share this with you because I think this is probably gonna help out a lot of people that haven't experienced this yet. What's going on with this carb, or what was going on with this carb, is there are two vertical passages that go down into the bowl for your low-speed circuit. And I'm going to show you where this metering screw goes. Sorry, let me get you in the camera view here. So your metering screw goes in right there, okay? Then you have another hole next to it right here that has a Welch plug in it. Both these passages go all the way, oh, I didn't mean to flip you a bird there. Both these passages go all the way down to the bottom here, okay? Let me pop this back out. And if you look at the bottom, there is another Welch plug that goes right there. And I don't think that I'm even going to be able to show you this, but down inside that passage, no, not good enough light. Even with this white everything, which, you know, is nice, you can see what's going on here pretty well, but Down inside that passage, there's a cross-drilled hole that connects the metering screw passage to the other vertical passage that you can access through this Welch plug. And that passage was plugged between the two vertical passages. So, you can pull that Welch plug out and you could blow air or, carb cleaner, brake cleaner, whatever, through that hole, and it would come out this hole. And then conversely, you could blow fluid down through this hole and it would come out the bottom where the tip of the metering screw sticks out. But there needs to be a pass through between the two. And I didn't know that. And I said to Dick at Stoil Carbon Mag, I should have made that connection because there's a Welch plug right there. And if you guys don't know this, the whole purpose of Welch plugs is for the actual manufacture of the carb, because the carbs are obviously, they start as a casting, and then a lot of the passages have to be machined. And the only way to machine a whole bunch of passages that interconnect with each other from different directions is to machine through the body of the carb, get the two passages to connect with each other, and then plug the access hole that you use to machine the hole with. So that's why, you can take, for example, right here, there's a Welch plug right here, and there's also a hole through the flange. And that's simply because they needed to come down, with a drill and go through, and then through the body of the carb to connect all those passages. And that's how those passages are manufactured. So if you see a Welch plug somewhere, there is a drilled hole beneath it that connects to something, 100% guaranteed. And like I said, I probably should have made that connection, but when you've got a vertical passage here and you get fluid, I didn't think of it. But it was absolutely packed full of crud in between those two passages. I used a piece of mechanics wire that when it's snipped with a pair of side cuts, it gives you a pretty nice little chiselly edge there, and I put that in there and just rotated it with my fingers. It fit through that hole almost perfectly. This wire is about 48 thousandths of an inch. I don't know, I could get pin gauges and find out what that hole actually is, but there's no reason to do that. You shine a bright light in there, it looks really nice and clean now. This wire fit beautifully. I cleaned the passage this way and got all the crud out, and then came through the top and came through the Welch plugged passage and did the same thing. Spun it, went up and down a whole bunch of times, got some more crud out of that, flushed it out several times, rinse and repeat until nothing comes out. It seems pretty clean now. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that we've licked our problem, and we're gonna get this carb slapped back together again and throw it on the tractor. And of course I got to put my paper back up on the ceiling so I don't paint the ceiling with carbon. And we're gonna pop this thing off and see if it's taking care of our issue. We're almost there. Got the carb put back on, and I soldered that ferrule fitting back onto the line again. And I've got a little dab of grease, and I'm just gonna put a little dabba around this ferrule so that the nut doesn't bite into it and twist it off the line again. Hopefully we'll be good. Oops, let me point the camera where I'm working here. I'll just give it a little bit of lubrication against that ferrule, so when we tighten it up, hopefully we'll be good. All right, we are fully assembled again. Well, I guess not fully because we don't have our intermediate intake pipe in here, but enough to run. And you may notice I took that secondary petcock off of there. Believe it or not, that fuel selector valve that we had torn apart is working perfectly fine. So I shut the fuel off. I don't get a single drip out of that fuel line. So I said, well, there's no point in having two of them. So I pulled that one off, and I think it looks pretty clean without it. So we'll get some paper back up on the ceiling and see if this thing runs proper. All right, we got our ceiling guard up, and guys, we have got to figure out different solution for this, because this is just no, just no. What a pain. So let's bark this thing off and see if it runs any better.
Few moments later.
I think we might have it figured out, guys. Running beautiful. I'll take it. Not bad for a hard day's work. And that's her idled right down. That's beautiful. That's a big success, folks. Big shout out to Stoil Carbon Mag. Much appreciated. I think we got her sorted now. Well, next we'll move on to the transmission and see if we can't make this thing move.
Three days later.
All right, guys, new day in the shop, and now that we've got this thing running halfway decent, now we need to make it move. And of course, you remember from the previous video that the trans is all screwed up on this and locked up and full of water. Well, it's not full of water anymore, but it was. And we need to pull that top cover off. So next stage of the game is going to be that. Unfortunately, in order to do that, we have to pull the steering shaft out of it, because in their infinite wisdom, they had made the steering column support part of the top of the trans cover. So to get the steering shaft off, we're gonna have to pull this nose cone off. I already stuck a screwdriver in these Phillips heads, and they are not moving at all. So we're gonna bust out the old impact driver and see if we can get them out with that. If you are working on old rusty junk or otherwise live in the Rust Belt, snow country, you know, the frozen north, whatever you want to call it, impact driver is a must-have. So here's your basic run-of-the-mill impact driver. Typically comes with a couple of Phillips, a couple of flatheads, and you've got a direction ring on here. There it is. Turn right for right and left for left, or you know what I'm saying. And this thing's really simple. So you put the bit in there that you want to use, you put it on the head of the screw, and you blast it with a hammer, or as we call in the machine shop, a variable angle swing press. So we'll slam a Phillips head in here and see if we can get these things out. All right, we got the nose cone off. We didn't break anything. We did shed about another 5 pounds of rust off onto the floor, so I think we'll get the shop back out and do some quick reconnaissance, and then we'll get back after it. I was going to try to get the steering wheel off next before we went crazy with pulling the steering box apart. Highly recommend using an impact for this nut. It's real fun to get off. But the steering wheel's frozen onto the shaft, and I don't have my pullers of any shape or size here at this shop. And I don't want to mushroom up the back of the steering wheel really bad, beating on it with a hammer, so I think we're going to pick at something else for a little bit. Perhaps going to pull this top cover off here and see what it looks like in there, and we'll soak this up a bit more with penetrating oil and go to the farm shop at some point, grab my my puller. In the interim, we'll just kind of pick at things here and see what we can get done. Well, we got the gating cover off, I guess that's what you'd call it, and now we can get kind of a better look down in here, and yeah, that's shot. Unfortunately, we still have to pull this whole top plate off to replace that stamped retainer plate for the shifter, but yeah, now we can just boop, boop, pop that right out. Lovely. That's supposed to be like that. And we can kind of have a gander down in here a little bit. Oh yeah. Oh, oh. Oh, it looks mint. This is like a sneak peek, like a preview, but we can at least, come on, would you focus? There we go. We can see the gear selector forks in here, and that the shaft is in fact all rusted up. So, I guess in the interim, we can hose that down with penetrating oil and see if it helps. And then once we get into it, we'll see if we can break them free. All right, onward and upward.
Later that same evening.
Well, guys, I was sitting out here and kind of chewing on the whole pulling the steering wheel off and going to the farm shop and getting my pullers and how much heat I was going to have to put on it and pulling the steering box apart and threading the worm out and taking the whole steering shaft out. And I'm thinking about, how this transmission is kind of put together with respect to the top cover and the shift forks and everything. And I'm thinking about it, and it's like, there's got to be a cheat code for this. There is. There definitely is. So, I don't know how many of you John Deere guys out there are looking for a shortcut, or, maybe some of you already know about this and I'm just an idiot, but this is about 1/3 of the disassembly that, you're supposed to do to take this transmission top cover off. So, hey, that's all we need. We're not doing a restoration, we're doing a restoration. I think it was Freiberger that said, we're not going to make it right, we're just going to make it run. Something to that effect. But yeah, we need this to run and function. So now we've got access to the top of our transmission, and you can see all the crust deliciousness in here. It's definitely seen better days. It also could be worse. The gears are still shiny where they're not covered in rust debris and whatnot, but I've already soaked up the shift forks here. These are your shift forks, if you don't already know. I've already soaked those up with penetrating oil, and they're supposed to slide on these shafts in here, and you can see they're all crustified. So we'll soak these up for a bit and let them pickle and start working on these and see if we can get them free. There is a chipped gear tooth down there. It's right in the shadow of my finger. That's super convenient for you, but there's still a little tiny bit of tooth there, so I'm not going to worry about it. I do have access to an entire John Deere H transmission, so we're not going to lose sleep over this. We'll get the trans flushed out real well after we get these shift forks freed up, and we're going to run it. Anyway, I think that's enough for one day. This is a success. We'll let these soak with penetrating oil for a while, and we'll move on to the next and tackle this another day. So we will see you tomorrow.
The next day.
Well, we've been heating this and trying to get penetrant in it, and heating it and trying to get penetrant in it, and tapping at it to break up the corrosion, and it's not having it, but we'll keep at it, and hopefully with enough time and patience we can get this thing broken loose, but it's rust jacked pretty bad. Just wanted to give you a quick update, but we're going to keep picking at it, and I don't know if I want to go through 37 batteries to give you a time lapse of it. It'd be pretty boring for you anyway. Just a lot of torch and spray and torch and spray and tap and torch and spray and tap, and that's about the sum of it. Well, hopefully the next update we'll have it moving. Well, it's day 11-4. Shift forks are still frozen. MAP gas is not cutting it. So, took a trip up to the farm, grabbed the big boys, see if we can get them freed up with that. They can't be stuck if they're liquid. Well, I'm right on the precipice of clicking the order button for a bunch of parts for this thing, and I just, wow. Wow. I was going to try to, kind of make this work, and it's just, no. No. So we're in the process of trying to disassemble this shifter stem. I've got the retaining ring out of it down there, got the washer off, and somebody's got two lock washers stacked in here against the spring, which makes me suspect that this is not the right spring. I've got a new ball in my cart and retaining rings and the retainer that's rotted out, and then the upper retainer guard thing. I don't even know what it's technically called. Got new leather, keeps some of the water out. We're gonna take a crack at rebuilding this. There is a company that offers this whole shifter pre-assembled, brand new, ready to go, but it's expensive. So, I'm not made of money. So we're gonna do it the hard way, and even doing it this way is a little more expensive than I'd like it to be. But you gotta have what you gotta have. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can beat these lock washers off of here, because they are rusted right onto the shaft, and get that spring off, take some measurements, and verify that it is in fact wrong, and then add the spring to my cart as well. All right, well, we got that much apart, and this spring actually may be correct. It's supposed to measure 1.4 inches, and we're at about exactly 1.375. So it's 25 thousandths short. But it's been shoved in there and compressed, and it may be correct. So it doesn't actually look to be in bad shape. So we might run with this. I don't know. It's nothing a little shim couldn't fix if need be. So might skip that part, but yeah, we got everything else in the cart. New ball. I'm still astonished at how rotted this is. That'll be fun to get off of there. That's probably going to end up getting cut, but we're going to get some parts ordered and hopefully get this thing put back together again. And we'll be able to shift gears. It's going to be amazing. All right, stand by. Well, we got the shift ball, pivot ball. Sure, pivot ball. We got the pivot ball off, and just wow, is this ever rotted? In hindsight, it may have been wise to just cough up the money and buy the new shifter stem assembly, but well, we're kind of committed now, so we're just gonna stay right into the throttle. You can see on the bottom there, let me put this down so I can point at it. Stay. You can see at the bottom, this is where the retaining ring groove should be. I don't know whether this is corrosion or whether somebody welded that at some point. I'm not sure. This is the upper retaining ring groove. But we're definitely going to have to do an awful lot of cleaning up to make this work. But that's okay. We can weld, we can grind, we can cut. We'll make it work. The important part, the ball for the shift fork at the bottom is actually not in too bad a shape, so we're gonna make it work. We'll get there. This is just, wow. I mean, wow. Just the amount of rod is just astonishing. And yes, I probably could have cut this off, but hey, you know, it was kind of a little bit of a challenge. You know, you kind of start whacking at it to see if it'll come loose, and hey, I guess it's good to vent some aggression on it. But it's off, and of course we didn't nick the shifter stem with the cutoff wheel or anything like that by cutting it off, so what the heck, you know. And we descaled it a bunch by impact. But now we will get this cleaned up and wait on our parts to arrive. Also, probably should have mentioned, you probably saw this sitting here. Went ahead and did a little work without you. Hope you're not mad at me. But this is the selector for the PTO, and it's frozen into the bushing. And of course, you know, as per usual, I started out gentle and used some penetrating oil, and then it became aggressive. And in trying to work this free, the bushing came loose from the housing, so I said, well, at this point I might as well just drive it right out. We'll free it up on the workbench, and it started to come free. And we may replace this spring, and then we'll get it put back together and press that bushing back into the plate for the steering stem. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can show you right quick. This guy right here. So this would go through here like so, and then your lever's on the top, and it would engage and disengage the PTO. So we're gonna get this freed up as well, and hopefully we can get the PTO on this working. I am having some trouble with the PTO shift fork on this. I'll go around the other side and show you. We do have the other two shift forks for the transmission freed up, but this guy right here is the PTO shift fork. It does not want to come loose. Not sure. I've got it moving on the shaft in here, but the fork itself seems like it's hanging up on the shaft down there, so not sure. I do have it moving a little bit. We'll keep lubing it up and working at it, and if I can't get it totally free, well, if I've got the lever freed up, we'll put it all back together again and run the tractor for a while and keep working at it, and it may loosen itself up. I don't know, we'll see. But bigger fish to fry than that right now, but we'll keep working at it.
3 days later.
All right, guys, I got one more update for you, and we're gonna call it on this video. Got all the parts ordered for this. We're waiting for them to show up. In the interim, took the shifter stem up to the farm shop and built that section up with weld. We'll then put that retaining ring groove back in there, so that way we get the shifter ball positioned in the right spot. I'm pretty sure that that was gobs of weld on there, and I suspect that the pivot ball was down too low, and that's why they had shims stacked on top of the spring on the top side. This is purely speculation on my part. I'm not positive. We won't really know until we get the retaining ring groove put back in there where it's supposed to be, and then start to put this thing all back together again, and we'll see how it goes. Got the PTO selector all apart, all cleaned up, fits beautiful now, feels good. Grabbed some washers for it. The spring for that was quite corroded. I contemplated putting it back in, but you know, the downside of that is if this spring breaks or a piece falls off, it's going to drop into the gears, and you know. So raided my inventory at the other shop and grabbed some springs to experiment with and see if any others work. Got the bushing all cleaned up, ready to go back in, and that's where we're at. Now we're at the mercy of shipping, and when the parts show up, we'll get moving on the next installment of putting this whole shifter stem and transmission top plate back together again. And likely then we'll dive into getting the drive clutch all freed up. That's all frozen. The plates in it are buckled from rust jacking. Don't know what's going to be salvageable, what isn't. So we'll be diving into that next, and hopefully we're going to be backing this thing out of the shop soon under its own power. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it very much. Till the next time, get out there and rescue something.